Hello everyone, my name is Renee Langbart and I am the Chamber Director for the Clay Center Area Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm very excited to have Bill Calloway with us. He is the Superintendent for the Public Utilities here in Clay Center, and today we are bringing to you a topic that is very important to our community, to even the surrounding communities and people that are involved with Clay Center. And we are talking about the Clay Center Public Utilities Zoo. And there's been a lot of talk going on about the zoo here in Clay Center, and rumors flying, and all sorts of different information. And today I've asked Bill come and share with us different aspects of true fact. So thanks for coming and talking to me, Bill. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. We appreciate the opportunity to discuss the subject.
Yes. First of all, why don't we start off with, can you give me a little bit of a brief overview about how the zoo came to be?
Okay. The Public Utility Commission has owned that property down there for a number of years. In the turn of the century, in that time period, the property where the park and the zoo is today was actually a mill race that operated a flour mill south of the park, and it also was a source of water for the cooling of the steam turbines in the power plant. And so the property was owned by the public utility. At one time it was a city dump.
Really?
Another time it was a junkyard. Mm-hmm. And as years went on, they drilled a couple of water wells down there and cleaned it up. And it started out as a mill race and a water supply for the city at the turn of the century. So, and then if you notice down there in 1934, they put all the walking paths in, and there's a Better Housekeeping Home and Garden award down there in 1934. And in the late 20s and in the Depression days, the utility customers would come to the old power plant up on the hill and pay their electric bill. And we have records yet today of people that would owe $2 in utility bill, and the superintendent, they would not have the money to pay, of course, and the superintendent would say, okay, you can go down and work in the park for 3 days. For $2 bill.
For $2 wages.
And to pay your utility. So all the rock work and all of that, a lot of people think it's a WPA project. It isn't. It was done by utility customers that could not pay their bills. So it was kind of a win situation for everyone.
Sure.
They put up all the rocks, they built the bathroom down there and all that. And that was strictly just a park area at that time. If you look in our pamphlet in 1934, I believe, the fountains down there, no trees in the park yet. It really has changed. And then the little bridge that everybody likes to get married on, and all that. And around 1940, I believe, we had a lineman that worked for the utility department, retired and lost himself. He didn't have anything to do, so he went down and built that bridge. So most everything down there has been either utility customers or volunteers, that was a nice little park. It grew and grew. The animals never came to the park until the 50s. In the early 50s, this mill race that I described, they had ducks and geese and small fowl in there. And it was great. Place to go down there and feed the ducks and so forth. And then the Fish and Game, they started bringing lost and found deer, baby deer in there, and it was a rescue. It kind of became a rescue place for animals with the Fish and Game, and they supported it. And that's actually how the exhibit started in the 50s. In mid-50s, the Clay Center Volunteer Fire Department thought it was a real great idea to have monkeys down there. And they bought the first monkey, Jocko. I came here in 1964 and Jocko was still there, So Minister Ernest Bauer, I believe, bought the first peacocks and donated. So it's just involved off of community support and that, but mostly it was a rescue animal habitat.
Okay.
And it's developed from there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Public Utilities owns that property, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
At the present time, the public utility owns about 23 acres.
Okay.
We acquired another 12.5 acres here a few years ago from the Williams family. And if you haven't been down there, we've developed that into a little over a mile of walking area, walking trails.
It's gorgeous.
We've planted about 400 trees down there, and we intend to plant about another 400 trees. You can walk down by the park, and it is getting used extensively.
Yes.
Really extensively. And so today we own about 23.5 acres down there. It is owned by the Public Utility Commission. There is no tax revenue at all in there. The commissioners and I, we have no taxing authority at all.
Correct.
There's no mill levies established for the park and the zoo. It totally comes out of our revenue. Yeah.
But specifically, I think there's a little bit of confusion about exactly where the money comes from. A lot of people think it's the electricity. It is not the electricity.
No.
Can you kind of explain to our viewers where that money is coming from and why it's so important to you guys?
Yeah. The commission and we are very dedicated to that. That zoo and that park's going to stay there if we possibly can. The revenue, the operating revenue for the park and the zoo totally comes out of the water fund. That being because we have jurisdictional customers. We have 200 miles of service territory outside the city limits of Clay Center, and we cannot take revenue from jurisdictional customers on the electric side and put into that zoo. So we take everything out of the water side. A lot of people have voiced their opinion, if you'd close the zoo, it's going to lower my utility rates. It's not going to, we close it tomorrow, it's not going to lower your rates one bit. The first thing is it's only about 1% of our total operating budget. Very, very minimal. It wouldn't affect our tariff or our rates at all if we close it. So there's no tax money. It all comes out of our revenues. The commission, and that's been there for years and years and years. And we have no intentions of raising rates to support it or anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of the money that you guys collect off of the water, you guys also do all the work down there, correct? You have an employee that works, that maintains the animals currently in their habitats, and
we've got 2 full-time employees and we got 4 or 5 part-time employees down there. And we have they maintain the animals, they care for the animals, they prepare the food. They travel to the grocery stores twice a day. The grocery stores contribute all their scrap lettuce and that. Then we go through that and prepare it for consumption and so forth. There's employees do that. The employees from the maintenance employees from the power plant, they do a tremendous amount of work down there in their spare time when they need another project or something. We hire high school kids. We try to hire 4 or 5 high school kids to mow. The Public Utility Commission has a lot of acres to mow. We mow all of our substations and everything, so yeah.
All of that information kind of brings us to the present day, so to speak. And this last Monday we had a fantastic town hall meeting here in Clay Center, and the commission spoke very forthright about the situation that the zoo is in right now. So, Bill, why don't you share with us exactly the crossroads that the zoo is at this present time?
Okay. The commission and I are very aware of the issues that we have down there. The first thing that we recognize very strongly is the exhibit area in the zoo is antiquated. The first thing being that it was built out of excess parts and pieces, and it is antiquated, and it needs to be upgraded. We have the revenue to operate the zoo. The commission is dedicated to the revenue for the employees, for the maintenance, and for the total operation of the zoo. We're not discussing that subject at all. We started about 4 years ago, a little less than 4 years ago. The zoo has a federal permit of operation from the USDA. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has authority over any mammal that is in captivity or in exhibition. Has nothing to do with the birds or the reptiles. It's totally mammals.
Okay.
We had a zoo inspector that was there for a number of years. He would give us guidance on what to do and everything. And the rules changed somewhat. And we got a new inspector, and she looked at things a lot different than we had been. We're not trying to say that she was in error. That isn't a debate right now. We've settled that issue. But she found several things she wasn't comfortable with. And most of those things, 90% of those things, were corrected before she ever left. So we went into mitigation over that, and that's been settled. And through that process, we realized that we can no longer continue to operate the zoo with the exhibit area that we have.
Correct.
It's just we paid a $7,500 fine. We have to close the exhibit area for 30 days. And the 30 days closure is in order to get our attention. When we lose revenue, we're going to get our attention, and we don't have revenue because we don't charge for the zoo.
It's still a free zoo.
It's still a free zoo, and it's going to continue to be a free zoo. But so there's been some very interesting negotiating back and forth. We ended up in Washington, D.C., back in Maryland, and we appealed this fine and so forth. And here a month ago, the commission and I came to a settlement with them, and that was the settlement. We have every intention to bring that up to the rules and regulations. We have every intention to maintain it that way. Tell us what the game rules are, and we'll play the game.
Yes.
But we can't change in the middle of a game because you have a different idea.
Right.
You know. So most of the fractions were very, very minor. You know, we consider some of them very, very minor. An example. I mentioned that we go around and pick up vegetables from the grocery stores and bring it into the zoo, and we store it in refrigeration until they're prepared to go to the animals. Well, at that time, a lot of times we'll pick up vegetables that are deteriorated. We had a case of strawberries that had mold on them. Well, we had them in storage. We had no intention of serving them that way. The inspector came and she wrote us up because of the mold that was on the strawberries. Well, the strawberries were not prepared for consumption yet.
Correct.
And through this process, we found out that if we would have put a sign on the refrigerator that says, "Not prepared for consumption," she wouldn't even inspect it. So it's naive on our part.
Sure.
You know, we have to get ourselves educated and play the game. We don't have a problem with that.
Right. I do understand that because at my store, Java Junkies, I've had several different health inspectors come for restaurant license, of course, and every one of the inspectors looks for different things, and sometimes it is just in those fine little details. But I respect so much what you're saying, that you're not arguing, you're not putting blame on them, you're accepting responsibility for the way that the zoo is right now. You know, and that takes a lot,
Yes.
you know, and it makes me more proud of this community that you guys are recognizing that it is time to make a decision as far as the shape of the zoo and whatnot. And so if the zoo remains open, what steps do we have to take to keep the zoo open? Because at that meeting on Monday night, it was a packed room, first of all. Clay Center turned out by the droves to come and talk and share their feelings about this. But of course, there was the most overwhelming support and love and affection. People talked about when they were children, and now they brought their children, and now they're bringing their grandchildren. One lady even said that she's now bringing her great granddaughter to the zoo. So obviously the zoo has deep-rooted history and heritage in Clay Center, and Clay Centerites and even transplants like myself recognize the just incredible importance that the Clay Center Zoo has for our community. I, for one, would be heartbroken if the zoo closed permanently. We heard so many people that said when they, transplants like myself, when they moved to Clay Center, that was one reason why they loved Clay Center so much, was because of the zoo. And when we moved here, I would bring my kids down there, and those monkeys are just so much fun to watch, and they're just a joy to watch. And so, of course, the room was just full of stories like that, and there were some really good questions as far as the efficiency that the proposal for the new zoo will offer. And so what do we need to do to keep the zoo open? Well,
as I stated before, the commission financially can operate the zoo, and we're dedicated to maintain and operate the zoo. Financially, we are not in a position to be able to remodel the zoo.
Sure.
And we feel just like you, it is a very important piece to this community. I have personal experience with people down there, as I mentioned the other night. The zoo is a lot more than just a place to go look at the monkeys.
It's true.
It becomes an outlet for people once in a while that have troubles and want to get away from things. They go down and watch the monkeys. We had 2 women who drove every day from Junction City to look at the baby monkey every morning. So it's a lot more than just the old zoo down there. So what we're asking is, we have committed, we have hired an architect. We have spent several $1,000s with the architect to come up with a long-range plan. We call it a dream. We'd give anything if we can do our dream overnight. We realize that that can't happen. We have broken our dream down into 5 different projects at different sizes and different costs. And we are going to the community and to the people and saying, if you financially support the remodeling of our exhibit area and our zoo, we will financially maintain it and run it under the guidelines of the USDA.
Correct.
So that's where we're at.
Right.
It's been very positive so far, very, very positive. I think we're looking at some large corporate donations. We've already seen a couple. So that's basically where we are, and we're very, very flexible. Prior to our dream, people would come and say, can we help out down in the zoo? We want to do something for grandma or something. What's your idea? Well, I didn't have an idea. I had a big chief notebook pad with a dream, Well, now we've got an idea. We've got cost estimates. We have plans that you can come in and say, I'd like to participate in the bear pen, or I would like to participate in the new lemur exhibit. Lemurs are a big hit, going to be a big draw. So that's where we are.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is that if the public, if the community, if people, if businesses, if corporations will give the money to the zoo to upgrade it, to renovate it, then in your current budget, you will have enough money to sustain the zoo after the upgrades are made, correct?
Yes,
okay.
Ma'am.
So
actually through the upgrades, we would save money.
Right, because it will be more efficient, won't it? Yeah. When I saw the plan, it's very easy to see how that really will be put into practice. The efficiency upgrades will be remarkable. So, yeah.
I had one individual approach us about a donation wanting to participate here some time ago. And they wanted to expand the zoo. We will donate if you go out into these walking trails and do this and do that. And the reality of it is we have to take care of what we have first. And we do not, this dream that we have does not expand the footprint of what we have down there right now. We're not expanding over into the walking trails. We have to take care of what we have right now presently. or downsize, get there before we ever look at doing an expansion of the zoo.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have good faith that this community is going to come together and that it's going to happen. So.
I think through some of our social media, I'm depending on you.
Another committee.
I've got 14 friends and you got 1,400. But I think through that and what I've seen is very, very positive. We'll get there.
Yep.
I'll guarantee the commission and I are dedicated to that zoo.
I see that completely.
Yeah.
So, yep.
It hurts me to say that we're really close.
I know it's close to your heart, and it's one more reason why I like you so much, Bill. So,
Yeah.
Well, I sure appreciate you coming and sharing with me.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much. And
I will extend an invitation to anyone in the public that has questions, has ideas, has concerns. My office is open. If I'm not available, my staff will take care of you, and I will personally sit down with you, talk one-on-one, and any questions.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much.